The Switch 2 is only a few days away, and we actually don't know too much about the lineup past July. So in this video, I'll be using data and patterns to try and predict the games that we know and when they're coming out, as well as my predictions of maybe some Switch 2 edition games. So let's get into it. I know what you're thinking as well. Nintendo and patterns doesn't really add up, but hypothetically, let's just say if they actually stuck to a pattern, this is what theoretically their launch lineup would be. So here we have a little graphic I made and all confirmed dates and my predicted dates as well. I'll go over each of them as we get to it. One thing I do think that isn't on here is we are getting a June Direct sometime, maybe the week of the Switch 2's launch or maybe the second week of the Switch 2's launch. So then we can get more information on what we can expect. We already know that we're getting a Pokemon Presents in July and that Pokemon Legends ZA is coming out in October, as well as a release date for Donkey Kong Bonanza and the Switch 2 editions of Mario Party and Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. Everything else here is my predictions, and I'll go into why I think that is and why it fits in there. Of course, in June, we get the launch of the Switch, we get Mario Kart World, we get hopefully a Nintendo Direct, and also the Switch 2 editions of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And it looks like Nintendo is trying to release a Switch 2 edition per month, at least for the launch month of the console. Because I don't think Switch 2 editions are going to last too long when it comes to Switch 1 games. Like, I think we're going to get a Switch 2 edition of Tamagotchi Life and Rhythm Heaven, but I don't think we're going to get any more Switch 2 editions of pre-existing Switch 1 games. And I'll go into the reason why, and the reason why I chose Mario Wonder 2 to be one of my Switch 2 editions. But of course we get all that in June. Then July comes in, we get the Pokemon Presents and brief prediction on what that might be in. Of course we'll get more details on Pokemon Legends ZA, probably a Pokemon spin-off game, and then of course maybe a tease of Gen 10. I don't think we're not going to get any more Pokemon games this year, just Legends Z. And yeah, we get a Jamboree TV and Donkey Kong Bonanza also in this year, or this month. So already pretty stacked. We know what's happening. We know what to expect. But kind of after that, that's it. We really don't. So in August, we have Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. That's confirmed to be released, the Switch 2 edition of it. And I'm predicting Drag and Drive, because right now, Drag and Drive is for summer. And typically, summer lasts in like companies, July, August, and September. So yeah, Drag and Drive in August makes the most sense. My only concern is it seems like it's a fairly small game, but I really don't know how that could be unless they have, a bigger game alongside it, and it being the Switch 2 edition of that month. Because I think Nintendo was just going to come out swinging. It really does seem like this launch month, there's going to be a Nintendo game a month, and it's going to be crazy. I mean, I remember the first couple months of the Switch 1, like maybe even the first year that it was out, there was banger after banger of Switch 1 games. So I definitely think that's what they're going for. So I definitely think Drag and Drive is going to be in August, because I don't really see it being in September, because I think Metroid Prime Beyond is going to be in September. The reason why I think Metroid Prime Beyond is going to be in September is because I do not think it can be in November, December, or October. It is that simple. Like, I do not see it being in those 3 months. So the only other one would be in September, because Drag and Drive could only be in the summer. So yeah, Legends EA is confirmed for October, November with Kirby Air Riders, and December with Hyrule Warriors. I'll get into that a little bit in a second. But Metroid Prime Beyond in September with a Switch 2 edition game. I think Nintendo's going to try and release a Switch 2 edition game every month up until December. My only thing with this is that Metroid Prime Beyond is getting a Switch 2 edition. So I'm thinking in their mentality, they're like, okay, that's our Switch 2 edition quota for that month. So that's my thought process for September, okay? In October, of course, we have the confirmation already of Pokemon Legends ZA, and then a Switch 2 edition for Mario Bros. Wonder. October is essentially the holiday month for Nintendo. They release their biggest title in October so that it's in the public eye and on the shelves for Black Friday in November. So yes, I think having a Mario Switch 2 edition would make the most sense for October, but we'll have to see. I'll go into my thought process on why Mario Wonders is a good Switch 2 edition, because there is very few games that could qualify for Switch 2 now, or Switch 2 edition. November and December, the reason why I chose Kirby Air Riders and Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is because technically this is the holiday season, right? But it's actually not where you sell the most games. If you think about it, kids aren't really allowed to buy games because their parents are trying to buy gifts. So that's why October is considered the holiday month for Nintendo. I could definitely see Kirby Air Riders coming out before Thanksgiving, so it's on the shelf for Black Friday as well. And then December, probably like very early December, we'll get Age of Imprisonment. I believe Age of Calamity came out in November, but it was later. So this was kind of slated for a December kind of release anyways. Because basically, if you're put in December, you're not really going to sell a lot of copies for the younger audience, because then they're having to wait to Christmas, and then probably most of American households at least get all their shopping done in November. So that's why I think a title like Age of Imprisonment would be kind of perfect for December. It's a good December title because people are still hyped for it and they'll get it, but also kids would also probably ask their parents as well for, the next Zelda game. When it comes to Switch 2 edition games, I found a really great article by Game Rant saying unconfirmed Nintendo Switch games that deserve a Switch 2 edition. So I think whoever wrote this article, Cameron Swan and myself, are in the same mindset when it comes to anything that isn't getting a patch for performance and it hasn't been in any form of documentation when it comes to like S-Boost or anything, is qualified for Switch 2. My only concern with his list is that some of them don't make too much sense for Nintendo. So Mario Wonder is on this list, and that's what kind of made me find it. And I think it's perfect because you could add another world per se, more levels, and then, make it 120 because it's a platformer. Give it HDR, it's very colorful. It sounds like it's a great Switch 2 edition game. But then he gets into like Animal Crossing New Horizons. I would love a Switch 2 edition of New Horizons, but this is a game that I think they will not touch. They will not add extra content. They will not make it better because they are making a Switch 2, like a Switch 2 game for it. Same thing with Splatoon 3. That's also on this list. The reason why it hasn't been mentioned, the reason why it isn't getting performance buff is because they're just making a Splatoon 4 and they're making another Animal Crossing. There's no reason to make another or give a Switch 2 edition of Animal Crossing and Splatoon, because then that would just fight against your sales of Splatoon 4 and so on. Metroid Dread, I did think was a really good pick. And if I were to put Metroid Dread somewhere on this list, it's a very tough thing to say, because I think having two Metroids in September doesn't make sense. And I think having two Switch 2 edition games released in August doesn't make any sense. It could replace October, but then it's just back-to-back Metroid. I don't know. I just think having two different Metroids doesn't make a lot of sense, but it could hypothetically come out in November or December. Going back to the article, he also mentions Smash Brothers Ultimate. This is another game that I was like, you know what? Include all the DLC, which they're not going to do. And, make it 120, give it HDR, maybe a few new stages, and boom, there you go. But I think you'd have to renew your contract with every single DLC fighter that's in, it's in the game. So I don't think that's gonna come out unless they somehow not include the DLC fighters. And we already know that Nintendo is not including DLC when it comes to these, which is very, very sad. So that's the one. And also, they're probably making a Smash 5. Sakurai made Kirby Air Riders and is probably making another Smash Bros. For the Switch 2. Mario Maker 2 isn't getting a patch for mouse mode functionality, which makes everyone assume that it's getting a Switch 2 edition. I think this is another case of let's just make a third one and then include mouse mode that way. So when it comes to Switch 2 editions, I think those are only the real other ones. I could think of maybe Switch Sports, but again, they'll just make another one. But Switch Sports definitely has a possibility of getting a Switch 2. And again, I would just include them in either September, November, or December. Briefly touching on 2026, of course, we got confirmed Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven. Those are just 100% like January, February games, maybe March. We'll probably get another direct in between June and December. So then we'll get more information that way. I'm interested now on when Gen 10 releases. It'll probably be next summer, but that is for another video entirely when we talk about Pokemon. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. That's all my thoughts and pattern predictions and everything on what this year is going to look like for Nintendo. I do think we are going to get a Direct in June, and of course they could include another game. But right now, the titles that they do have basically fill out the year. We just don't know when they're going to come out. So I think if we do get a June Direct, it is just going to be a lot more release dates and teases for 2026. But let me know what you think down below in the comment section. I'll see you guys tomorrow.